The days before Christmas always carry a strange kind of quiet. Even when the world is loud rushing, shopping, traveling, planning, there is a quiet underneath it all, an invisible pause that hangs in the air. It's a quiet that makes you think about your life, your choices, your mistakes, your growth, and the future waiting on the other side of the year. You feel it when the nights come earlier, when the lights glow softer, when the year begins winding down. The noise of the world fades just enough for you to hear something deeper. Yourself, your truth, your regrets, your potential. The person you've been and the person you still want to become. This stillness is not an accident. It's the universe giving you a moment to breathe before your next evolution. Most people rush through this season without understanding its power. They get lost in the chaos of holidays, family gatherings, traditions, obligations, and expectations. They focus on gifts, plans, schedules, appearances, and responsibilities, never realizing that this time of year is designed to be more than a holiday. It's a checkpoint, a moment of transition, a chance to recalibrate your soul. Christmas is not only about celebration, it's about reflection, introspection, and rebirth. It is a window where your heart becomes softer and your mind becomes clearer. It is a moment where you can hear the truths you've ignored all year because life was too loud for you to listen. When you slow down enough to truly feel this season, you begin to see your life differently. You start recognizing the moments that changed you, the people who shaped you, the lessons that hardened you, the blessings you didn't notice, the wounds you haven't healed, the battles you carried silently, the strengths you discovered without realizing it. This reflection is not meant to make you depressed. It's meant to make you aware, because awareness is the first step of transformation. You cannot grow from a year you refuse to examine. You cannot evolve from a life you never paused to understand. This season invites you to confront yourself with honesty, not judgment, not shame, not self-criticism, but honesty. Honesty about who you've been. Honesty about what you've tolerated. Honesty about what you've neglected. Honesty about what you secretly desire, but have been too afraid to admit. Honesty about the life you are meant to live. Most people fear this honesty because it exposes the gap between their intentions and their actions. But this gap is where change begins. Growth never starts from perfection. It starts from truth. And Christmas, with its quiet, reflective energy, gives you the space to face that truth gently. You begin to realize that the year was not simply a collection of months. It was a series of lessons. Some lessons were kind. Some were painful. Some were confusing. Some were transformative. But all of them were necessary. Every difficulty you faced this year taught you resilience. Every disappointment taught you patience. Every conflict taught you communication. Every heartbreak taught you boundaries. Every success taught you confidence. Every failure taught you humility. Every moment you survived, even the ones you didn't think you could, strengthened you. And this season is where you gather those lessons, where you assemble the wisdom that will fuel the next chapter of your life. Christmas teaches you something subtle yet powerful. Growth is not always loud. You do not always feel yourself changing. You do not always notice the progress in real time. Growth often happens quietly, gradually, secretly. It happens in the moments you endure instead of breaking. In the moments you choose discipline instead of impulse. In the moments you choose kindness when anger would have been easier. In the moments you choose to try again after failure. In the moments you get up, even when you felt defeated. Growth hides inside everyday choices, and by the time you recognize it, you've already become someone stronger. This season invites you to appreciate that subtle growth. To look back on your year not with regret, but with perspective. You may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you were. You may not have accomplished every goal, but you survived every challenge. You may not feel powerful, but you are undeniably stronger than before. The person you are now could handle things the old version of you could not. That alone is proof of your evolution. Christmas holds space for you to see that truth clearly. Another lesson this season brings is the importance of letting go. The end of the year carries a natural symbolic release, a chance to put down the weight you've carried, the grudges, the resentment, the guilt, the disappointment, the relationships you've outgrown, the opportunities you missed, the pain you didn't deserve, the expectations that suffocate you. Christmas whispers a simple truth. You cannot enter a new year carrying the baggage of an old one. Some chapters must close so new ones can begin. Letting go is not weakness, it's preparation. It creates room for the blessings waiting in the next season of your life. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means releasing the emotional control these memories have over you. It means forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made when you were still learning. It means accepting the relationships that changed, the people who left, the seasons that ended. It means acknowledging what hurt you without letting it define you. It means choosing peace over bitterness, growth over stagnation, expansion over fear. When you let go, you become lighter. And when you become lighter, you become capable of rising. But Christmas is not only about letting go, it's also about reconnecting, not only with others, but with yourself. This season reminds you of your humanity. It reminds you that life is not just productivity and survival, it is connection, presence, meaning, and love. Not necessarily the love others give you, but the love you give yourself. The love you express through patience, forgiveness, discipline, and compassion toward your own heart. When you reconnect with yourself, you rediscover what truly matters. You rediscover the dreams that still belong to you. You rediscover the values that make you who you are. And you rediscover the strength that carried you through every storm. This season also teaches gratitude, not the superficial kind where you list things to feel better, but deep gratitude born from awareness. Gratitude that recognizes the magic in ordinary moments. Gratitude that acknowledges the people who showed up. Gratitude that honors the opportunities that found you. Gratitude that respects the challenges that shaped you. Gratitude transforms your mind. It shifts your focus from what is missing to what is meaningful. It reminds you that even in a year of hardship, there were still moments of light. There were still reasons to smile. There were still reasons to hold on. Gratitude builds the foundation for a powerful new year because it stabilizes your heart. A grateful mind is not desperate, anxious, or resentful. It is grounded, clear, and capable. When you enter the new year with gratitude, you are already mentally ahead of those who enter it with bitterness or confusion. Gratitude strengthens your perspective, and perspective shapes your future. Christmas also teaches you generosity, only the generosity of giving gifts, but the generosity of giving presence, patience, and kindness. The generosity of giving your best self to the world. The generosity of forgiving others, even when they didn't ask. The generosity of helping someone even when nobody sees it. Generosity expands your spirit. It reminds you that you have something to offer. It reminds you that your existence impacts others. And when you give from a place of authenticity, you grow in ways that cannot be measured. The stillness of this season also invites you to dream again. Not the safe dreams. Not the practical dreams. The real ones. The ones you've buried because life got heavy. The ones you stopped believing in because you were afraid of failure. The ones you pushed aside because you convinced yourself they were unrealistic. The end of the year gives you permission to resurrect them, to breathe life back into the parts of yourself you abandoned, to recognize that it is never too late to begin again. As you stand in the final days of the year, you are given a choice. Repeat the same patterns or create new ones. Live the same year again or grow into a new one. Stay the same or evolve. Most people will unconsciously choose repetition because it feels safe, because it is familiar, because change requires discomfort, but a season of growth demands courage. It requires willingness to step into uncertainty. It requires trusting that the next chapter of your life will reward your efforts. It requires believing that you are worthy of more. This is the stillness before transformation, the sacred pause before your next rise. The quiet where your future begins. This season is not the end, it is the doorway. Everything ahead of you will be built by the choices you make right now. Every year gives you gifts that you don't recognize until much later. Not the kind wrapped in paper or exchanged under a tree, but the kind life delivers quietly through moments. People, challenges, endings, beginnings, and unexpected experiences. These gifts don't always feel like gifts when they arrive. Many of them arrive disguised as problems, obstacles, disappointments, losses, frustrations, and painful lessons that didn't make sense at the time. But when you look back through the lens of wisdom, you begin to see that this year gave you exactly what you needed to grow, even if it didn't give you what you wanted. Some of the most powerful gifts arrive through difficulty. People want strength without struggle, growth without discomfort, wisdom without pain, confidence without adversity. But that's not how the universe works. Everything you became this year stronger, wiser, tougher, clearer. Kinder was forged in moments that challenged you. The situations you thought were breaking you were actually shaping you. The setbacks that frustrated you were sharpening your resilience. The disappointments that crushed you were redirecting your path. These experiences were not punishments, they were gifts of evolution. One of the gifts this year gave you was clarity. You learned what matters and what doesn't. You discovered which relationships were real and which were temporary. You learned who was there for you and who was only there when things were easy. You saw the truth behind people's intentions, behind your own patterns, behind situations you once misread. Clarity is a painful gift because it comes with truth, and truth is uncomfortable. But clarity saves you, frees you from illusions. It protects you from repeating mistakes. It gives you the vision to walk into the new year knowing who belongs in your life and who does. Another gift this year gave you was resilience. You may not have noticed yourself becoming stronger, but your survival is proof. Every time you thought you couldn't handle something, and handled it anyway, you grew. Every time you cried but kept going, you strengthened your inner foundation. Every time you felt lost but found a way through, you built resilience. Resilience isn't built in eyes, it's built in moments that demand more from you than you think you have. This year asked a lot of you, but it gave you strength in return. This year also gave you the gift of perspective. You see life differently now. Things that once terrified you don't hold the same power. Things that once seemed urgent no longer matter. Things you used to tolerate now feel unacceptable. Things you once overlooked now feel precious. Perspective is what shifts your internal world. It changes what you value, what you chase, what you trust, what you run from, and what you run toward. Perspective is the silent transformation that no one sees except you. It is one of the greatest gifts a year can give. You also receive the gift of boundaries. Maybe you didn't realize they were being built, but they were. Every time someone crossed a line and you felt the sting, your boundaries grew. Every time your kindness was taken for granted, your standards evolved. Every time someone showed you what they were capable of, good or bad, you adjusted your expectations. Boundaries are born from experiences that teach you how to protect your peace. This year gave you those lessons. You walk into the new year with the ability to guard your energy with stronger clarity than ever before. Another unexpected gift this year brought you was the gift of self-awareness. You learned things about yourself that you didn't know before. You saw your strengths more clearly. You noticed your triggers. You observed your habits. You recognized your cycles. You became aware of the patterns you're ready to outgrow. Self-awareness is uncomfortable because it forces you to face the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore, but it's also liberating. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. If you don't understand yourself, you can't improve yourself. This year revealed more of you to yourself, and that's a powerful gift. This year also gave you the gift of honesty, sometimes brutal honesty. You learned the truth about people you trusted. You learned the truth about situations you misjudged. You learned the truth about your own limitations, your own excuses, your own desires. Honesty is a gift that often arrives wrapped in disappointment, but it sets you free. You cannot build a new year on lies. You need the truth to create a future that aligns with who you really are. This year delivered that truth even when you weren't ready for it. Another gift this year gave you was the ability to let go. Letting go is one of the hardest things humans ever learn. Letting go of people you cared about. Letting go of expectations that didn't come true. Letting go of dreams that weren't meant for you. but letting go has not lost its renewal. You cannot step into the next chapter if you are clinging to the last one. Life made you release things this year not because it wanted to hurt you, but because it wanted to prepare you. You needed space for what comes next. This year also gave you the gift of patience. Patience with life, patience with timing, patience with yourself. Some things didn't happen when you wanted them to happen. Some plans fell apart. Some progress was slower than you hoped. But patience teaches you trust. Trust in the process. Trust in your ability to endure. Trust in your ability to wait without giving up. Patience is a spiritual muscle, and this year strengthened it every time you had to sit with uncertainty instead of control. That patience will become one of your greatest weapons in the next year. You also receive the gift of unexpected support. Maybe from a friend who checked on you when you didn't expect it. Maybe from a stranger who showed kindness in a moment you needed it. Maybe from someone who saw your struggle without you having to explain it. The universe sends people at the exact moment you need them, even if you don't notice it at the time. Support is a gift that often arrives in quiet ways, but it matters. It reminds you that you are not alone, even when life feels heavy. Another gift this year gave you was the realization of what you are capable of. You did things you didn't think you could do. You overcame things you thought would break you. You got through days you didn't think you could survive. You solved problems you didn't think you were strong enough to face. You made decisions that required courage. You grew in ways you never planned to. This realization is powerful. It reshapes your confidence. It shows you that you are more capable, more resilient, and more determined than you once believed. You also receive the gift of quiet moments, those moments where life slowed down just enough for you to feel something real. A moment where you appreciated your surroundings. A moment where you felt proud of yourself. A moment where you breathed more deeply. A moment where you saw beauty in something ordinary. A moment where you realized how far you've come. These small moments accumulate into something meaningful. They restore your soul. They remind you of the goodness still left in the world. They ground you, bring you back to yourself. Another gift this year gave you was redirection those moments, where your plan fell apart because something better was waiting. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away. At the time, these felt like losses, but in reality, they were reroutes. The universe protects you from things that are not meant for your growth. Not every closed door is rejection, some are guidance. Some are protection, some are preparation for something far greater than what you originally wanted. Redirection is a painful gift, but it is always a gift. This year also gave you the gift of endurance. You learned how to keep moving even when tired, how to keep hoping even when discouraged, how to keep believing even when it felt pointless. Endurance is what carries you through seasons where motivation dies. It is the quiet strength that lives in your bones, not your feelings. You're earned. That endurance through every long day, every hard moment, every night you talked yourself into not giving up, this gift will carry you through the hardest challenges of next year. Another gift was healing, maybe not complete healing, but beginning. Healing from past relationships, healing from trauma, healing from childhood wounds, healing from disappointments, healing from old versions of yourself. Healing is not loud, does not announce itself. It happens slowly, silently, in moments of understanding, in moments of forgiveness, in moments of acceptance. Healing is a gift that accumulates through the year without you noticing it. One day you simply wake up and realize something that used to hurt doesn't hurt as much. That is growth. That is healing. That is a gift. And finally, the most important gift this year gave you is awareness of who you are becoming. You are not just ending a year, you are ending a version of yourself. Growth is not measured by achievements. It's measured by evolution. By the way you think, act, respond, and love differently. By the strength you've built, by the wisdom you've earned, by the clarity you've gained. You are becoming someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more grounded, someone more intentional. This awareness is the greatest gift you can carry into the new year, because now you know. You are not the same person who started this year. You are becoming someone new, someone powerful, someone capable, someone ready. These are the gifts this year gave you. Some wrapped in joy, some wrapped in pain. Every year arrives with its own curriculum, its own set of lessons, its own challenges, designed specifically for your growth. Some lessons are gentle. Some are harsh. Some arrive beautifully. Others arrive in ways that break you first. But all of them serve a purpose. This year, whether you realized it or not, was trying to teach you something about yourself, about your boundaries, about your strength, about your relationships, about your desires, about your destiny. Life is not random. Your experiences were not accidental. Every obstacle, every joy, every loss, every victory held meaning. And now, as you look back, you can finally begin to see what this year was preparing you for. One of the first lessons this year tried to teach you was that you cannot control everything. You cannot force timing. You cannot manipulate outcomes. You cannot shape people into who you want them to be. You cannot cling to things that are meant to leave. You cannot rush what needs time. This year showed you again and again that life unfolds on its own timeline, not yours. Sometimes the things you wanted didn't happen when you wanted them to, and at the time it frustrated you. But now you can see that timing protected you. Delays taught you patience. Uncertainty taught you resilience. What didn't happen was guiding you toward what was meant to. This year also tried to teach you the importance of boundaries. You learned that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your energy, your time, or your heart. You learned that kindness without boundaries leads to exhaustion. You learned that loyalty without discernment leads to disappointment. You learned that giving too much to the wrong people drains the parts of you that the right people would honor. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They protect your peace. They preserve your mental health. They ensure that your energy is invested where it is valued. This year taught you to stop overextending yourself and start respecting yourself. Another powerful lesson this year tried to teach you was emotional responsibility. Your feelings matter, but your emotions are not always right. They are signals, not scripts. They are messages, not commands. This year challenged you to pause instead of react, to breathe instead of explode, to reflect instead of assume, to communicate instead of shut down. Emotional responsibility is what separates repeated chaos from maturity. You learn that your reactions shape your life just as much as your decisions. And this year pushed you, often painfully, toward emotional maturity. This year also tried to teach you about self-worth. You discovered the difference between being valued and being used, between being appreciated and being taken for granted, between being chosen and being convenient. You started to realize that your worth is not measured by how much you give, how much you sacrifice, or how much you tolerate. Self-worth is knowing you deserve respect, equality, reciprocity, and emotional safety. It is knowing that being alone is better than being with someone who does not value you. Self-worth is recognizing, perhaps for the first time, that you deserve more than the bare minimum. A major lesson this year offered you was the art of letting go. Letting go of people who made you feel small, letting go of situations that no longer grew you, letting go of habits that kept you stuck, letting go of the need to be understood by everyone, letting go of the desire to control outcomes, letting go of versions of yourself that no longer belong to your future. Letting go is never easy, but this year showed you that holding on to the wrong things is far more painful. Letting go isn't losing, it's making space. Space for new people, new opportunities, new experiences, new strength. Another lesson this year tried to teach you was the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness feels heavy, painful, empty, but solitude is empowering. Solitude is where you meet yourself, where you find clarity, where you rediscover your goals, where you heal wounds without interference. This year likely forced you into moments of solitude so you could finally hear your own thoughts without external influence. It taught you that peace is not found in other people. It is found in the relationship you build with yourself. This year also tried to teach you about alignment. You noticed how drained you felt when something was wrong for you. You noticed how your spirit resisted things that didn't match your values. You noticed how your body reacted to environments or people that were unhealthy. You noticed how uncomfortable it felt to stay somewhere you had outgrown. Alignment always speaks. It speaks through intuition, fatigue, uneasiness, dissatisfaction. And this year taught you to stop dismissing those signals. Your mind might lie. Your hopes might cling, but your body never does. This year taught you to trust your inner compass. Another important lesson was resilience, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. Challenges came. Situations changed. Plans fell apart. Expectations crumbled. People disappointed you. Circumstances tested you. And yet somehow you made it through. Resilience wasn't something you wished for, it was something you built. It was built through every moment you didn't think you could handle, but did. It was built through every night you cried and still woke up the next day. It was built through every moment you kept going when giving up felt easier. This year taught you resilience by pushing you to discover your inner strength. This year tried to teach you that not everyone will understand your journey, and that is okay. Your path is your path. Your timing is your timing. Your healing is your healing. Your growth is your growth. You learn that you don't need permission to evolve. You don't need validation to improve. You don't need applause to rise. The people meant for your life will adjust to your growth, not criticize it. And those who cannot handle your evolution will naturally fall away. This year taught you that losing people is not always a loss. Another lesson was learning to trust yourself again. To trust your decisions, to trust your intuition, to trust your ability to adjust, to trust your capacity to rebuild. Life tested your self-trust by placing you in situations where you had no choice but to rely on yourself. You realized that you were more resourceful, capable, and intuitive than you once believed. Self-trust grows when you stop doubting whether you can handle life and start recognizing that you already have. This year tried to teach you patience, not passive waiting, but active patience. The kind of patience that keeps working even when results are not visible. The kind that stays committed even when progress is slow. The kind that understands growth is not instant, and timing is not always logical. This year showed you that rushing only leads to mistakes. It taught you that patience is not weakness, it is discipline. Patience allows you to grow roots before you bloom. This year also tried to teach you that healing is not linear. Some days you felt strong, other days broken. Some moments revealed progress, others brought setbacks. But every part of the journey mattered. Healing is not about forgetting the past. It is about not letting it control you. Healing is not about closing wounds quickly. It is about closing them correctly. This year tried to teach you to be gentle with yourself, to allow your heart the time it needs to recover, and to stop expecting healing to be fast or easy. Another lesson this year delivered was the importance of choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a self-respecting way. Choosing your peace over chaos. Choosing your boundaries over pleasing others. Choosing your mental health over toxic comfort. Choosing your future over temporary attachment. Choosing your goals over distractions. This year taught you that choosing yourself is not dishonoring others. It is honoring your purpose. This year also tried to teach you responsibility. The responsibility to take charge of your life, to stop blaming the past, to stop waiting for someone to fix things, to stop hoping someone would understand what you haven't communicated. Responsibility isn't about fault, it's about ownership. The moment you take ownership of your life is the moment you gain control over it. This year taught you about gratitude, not superficial gratitude. Gratitude for the small moments that saved you. Gratitude for the people who stayed. Gratitude for the strength you didn't know you had. Gratitude for the lessons that shaped you. Gratitude for the breath in your lungs when life felt heavy. Gratitude is perspective. This year taught you that perspective is a superpower. This year also wanted you to learn that you cannot pour into everyone. You cannot save everyone. You cannot fix people who refuse to grow. You cannot carry souls who won't walk on their own. This year taught you that your energy is valuable and must be spent wisely. Helping others is noble, but sacrificing yourself is not. This year pushed you to recognize when to support and when to step back. Another lesson was that sometimes you need to break down to break through. You needed moments of collapse to see what was hurting you. You needed moments of confusion to seek clarity. You needed moments of pain to recognize your patterns. You needed moments of loneliness to understand your worth. This year taught you that breakdowns are not signs of weakness, they are moments of transformation. Finally, this year tried to teach you that growth is not optionally as necessary. You cannot remain the same and expect a different life. You cannot cling to the past and move into the future. Growth demands change. Change demands courage, and you have more courage than you realize. There are moments in life when you look back on the year and think, why did that have to happen? Why did it unfold that way? Why did life take me down that path instead of the one I hoped for? These questions often linger more during the Christmas season, when everything slows down just enough for you to feel the weight of all your experiences. The quiet of winter has a way of forcing reflection. It strips away distraction and brings you face to face with the things you avoided, endured, survived, or overcame. You don't always understand your hardships while you're living them. But this season offers you the clarity to finally see the purpose behind the pain. Every challenge you faced this year had meaning, even the ones that felt random, even the ones that felt unfair, even the ones that seemed pointless or cruel. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Life has a way of placing you exactly where you need to be, even when you don't agree with the process. There is hidden design in your discomfort. There is hidden guidance in your struggle. There is hidden wisdom in your losses. This year wasn't punishing you, it was directing you. It was forging you into someone capable of handling the next season of your life. One of the reasons you went through what you went through is because you needed to outgrow who you were. Growth is not gentle. It requires pressure. It requires friction. It requires events that challenge the identity you've clung to for too long. You cannot evolve while staying comfortable. You cannot transform while staying attached to old habits, old expectations, old relationships, old beliefs. This year pushed you because you were meant to expand. You were meant to step into a version of yourself that could only be created through difficulty. Without struggle, you would have remained the same. And remaining the same is no longer part of your destiny. Another reason you experienced certain hardships is because you needed clarity about people, about priorities, about what aligns with your future and what doesn't. Some truths you would have never recognized without discomfort. Some people you would have never seen clearly until they hurt you. Some boundaries you would have never built until someone crossed them. Some dreams you would have never pursued unless your comfort zone was destroyed. Pain sharpens awareness. It reveals what was hidden. It exposes what was pretending. It guides you toward a more aligned life. Without the challenges of this year, you might have continued living blind to what you truly needed. You also went through what you went through because certain attachments were holding you back. Sometimes life removes people, opportunities, or comforts, not to harm you, but to free you. You may have resisted those endings. You may have begged for some situations to work out. You may have tried to hold on long after your soul was ready to let go. But the universe saw what you couldn't. It saw the weight you were carrying. It saw the ways you were shrinking. It saw how much you were compromising. And life intervened. Not to break you, but to release you. To remove what could not go with you into your next chapter. Another powerful reason you went through certain experiences is because they were preparing you. Preparation rarely looks like preparation. It looks like chaos. It looks like conflict. It looks like confusion. It looks like everything falling apart. But behind that chaos, something sacred was happening. You were being strengthened. You were being tested. You were being stretched. You were being trained. The situations that felt like detours were actually shaping your character. The moments that felt like setbacks were strengthening your resolve. The circumstances that overwhelmed you were expanding your capacity. Preparation feels painful because you are being shaped for something bigger than your comfort. This year also brought you experiences that forced you to slow down. Life knows when you're moving too fast. It knows when you're ignoring emotional wounds. It knows when you're distracting yourself with busyness. It knows when you're pouring into others while neglecting yourself. And sometimes life uses challenges, loneliness, or sudden change to pause you. Not to punish you, but to help you see what you've been avoiding. You needed time to heal. You needed space to reconnect with yourself. You needed silence to hear your intuition again. You went through what you went through because you needed restoration. Another reason this year unfolded as it did is because you needed to learn emotional strength. You had to learn how to manage your emotions instead of being controlled by them. How to stay calm when overwhelmed. How to regulate yourself when triggered. How to respond instead of react. How to hold yourself steady in circumstances that tried to break you. Emotional maturity is not a lesson you learn in comfort. It is learned in experiences that test your patience, your self-control, your communication, and your ability to stay grounded. This year gave you circumstances that forced you to grow emotionally, so you could enter the new year with a stronger heart. You also went through what you went through because it was time to break old cycles. Cycles of self-sabotage. Cycles of overgiving. Cycles of chasing. Cycles of settling. Cycles of doubt. Cycles of fear. Cycles of toxic relationships. Cycles of procrastination. Cycles of shrinking yourself. You were repeating patterns without realizing it. Life disrupted those patterns to free you. Breaking cycles is painful because it requires facing the beliefs that created them. But this year confronted those beliefs. It challenged them. It exposed their damage. And in doing so, it opened the door for a new way of living. Another reason you faced difficult moments is because you needed to learn. Independence. The kind of independence that is emotional, mental, spiritual, and internal. The kind that doesn't rely on others for validation or stability. The kind that allows you to stand on your own feet. This year may have taken people from your life not to punish you, but to strengthen your relationship with yourself. When you learn to stand alone, you become unstoppable. You stop fearing abandonment. You stop clinging. You stop settling. You stop losing yourself in others. You went through what you went through because you needed to realize that you were whole, even on your own. Another lesson behind your experiences is learning to trust yourself again. Trust your intuition. Trust your judgment. Trust your ability to make decisions. Trust your strength. Trust your path. Life put you in situations where the only person you could rely on was yourself. At first, it felt isolating, but later you realized it was empowerment. The more you faced alone, the more you proved your capability. This year rebuilt your relationship with yourself in a way that comfort never could. Trust is earned through experience, and this year gave you the experiences needed to trust your own wisdom. You also went through what you went through because you needed to learn patience. Not the passive kind that waits without movement, but the powerful kind that continues despite uncertainty. Patience that keeps working even when results aren't visible. Patience that trusts timing even when the path feels unclear. Patience that stays committed even when progress feels slow. Life taught you patience through situations that you couldn't rush, fix, or control. You were forced to surrender, and in surrender, you learned how to breathe without forcing. You learned how to trust without proof. Another reason this year unfolded. The way it did is because your soul was ready to grow even if your mind resisted it. Sometimes life removes your safety nets to show you how capable you are without them. Sometimes it reveals hard truths because you are ready to handle them. Sometimes it closes doors because you are ready for better ones. You may not have felt ready, but readiness is rarely something you feel, it's something you realize afterward. Every moment that overwhelmed you was shaping a version of you that could no longer be, limited by your past. This year also brought you pain to deepen your compassion. Not only compassion for others, but compassion for yourself. Pain softens people in ways success never could. It makes you more understanding, more empathetic, more aware of what others may be carrying, more aware of what you've been carrying. Pain humbles you in a way that connects you to humanity. It allows you to forgive yourself. It allows you to forgive others. The pain you faced was not punishment, it was expansion. It expanded your heart so that your future relationships, connections, and purpose could be built on deeper emotional wisdom. Finally, You went through what you went through because you are being called into a new version of yourself. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more grounded, more intentional, more aligned version. The challenges of this year were not roadblocks, they were stepping stones. They were unlocking strength within you that comfort never could. They were preparing you for the blessings waiting in your next chapter. The pain had purpose. The confusion had direction. The struggle had meaning. What you went through wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to rebuild you, to reshape you, to elevate you, to prepare you. This year wasn't an ending, it was initiation. Everything you endured was preparing you for everything you're about to become. Every year reveals the parts of you that still need healing. Not to shame you, not to discourage you, but to help you evolve. This year was no different. It exposed wounds you didn't know were still open. It triggered emotions you thought you had grown past. It brought up memories, insecurities, fears, and patterns that needed attention. Healing is not a comfortable process. It requires honesty, vulnerability, and courage. But this year didn't expose your wounds to hurt you, it exposed them so you could finally address them. Healing is not about fixing what's broken. It's about understanding what shaped you. And this year quietly brought forward the parts of yourself that you've carried for far too long. You may have noticed old triggers resurfacing, situations that felt strangely familiar, emotional reactions that surprised you, patterns that repeated themselves even when you didn't want them to. That wasn't coincidence. That was life giving you a mirror, showing you the parts of your heart still asking for attention. One of the biggest things this year revealed was the wounds of your past relationships. Romantic, family, friendships, all of it. Some of your reactions this year weren't about the present moment. They were echoes of old pain. You found yourself fearing abandonment even when no one was leaving. You found yourself getting anxious when people took too long to respond, as if silence meant rejection. You found yourself doubting whether you were enough, even though nothing was actually wrong. These reactions were not failures, they were signals. They were your heart saying, something here still needs healing. This year also exposed your self-worth wounds. It showed you where you still question your value, where you still accept less than you deserve, where you still tolerate disrespect, where you still fear standing up for yourself, where you still associate your worth with someone else's approval. These wounds run deep because they were formed long before adulthood. This year didn't create them, it revealed them. Not so you could suffer, but so you could strengthen the parts of yourself you've been neglecting. Another part of you this year exposed was the wounded inner child, the part of you that still carries childhood fears, unmet needs, and old insecurities. You may have felt overly sensitive in moments. You may have felt easily rejected. You may have felt small or powerless in situations that reminded you of old emotional environments. This wasn't regression. It was revelation. Your inner child surfaced because it finally felt safe enough to ask for healing. That child inside you wasn't asking for perfection. They were asking for attention. They wanted comfort. They wanted reassurance. They wanted to know they weren't alone anymore. This year also brought forward the wounds of disappointment times when your expectations didn't match reality. You might have felt crushed when things didn't work out. You might have felt betrayed when life didn't go the way you hoped. These wounds showed you how much you attached your happiness to specific outcomes. And while that's human, it's also painful. Life doesn't always unfold according to your script. This year taught you to detach not from dreaming or hoping, but from clinging. Healing means accepting that not everything meant something permanent. Some things were simply part of your learning. Another part of you that surfaced this year was your fear of vulnerability. You learned how hard it is to open your heart again after being hurt. You learned how easy it is to shut down, to distance yourself, to pretend you're fine even when you're not. You learned how quick you are to protect yourself even from people who are not trying to hurt you. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. This year exposed your fear of vulnerability so you could learn how to trust safer, choose better, and open your heart with wisdom instead of fear. This year also revealed your avoidance wounds, the parts of you that check out emotionally. When things get hard, Maybe you distracted yourself to avoid pain. Maybe you avoided conversations that needed to happen. Maybe you escaped into habits that numbed your feelings. Avoidance feels like protection, but it's actually self-abandonment. And this year showed you how often you disappear from yourself when discomfort rises. Healing means staying present with your emotions even when they feel unbearable. It means sitting with yourself long enough to understand what you're truly feeling. Another wound this year exposed was your fear of failure. You may have postponed goals, procrastinated on dreams, hesitated before taking action. Not because you were lazy, but because you were afraid. Afraid of not being good enough, afraid of falling short, afraid of disappointing yourself or others. Failure wounds run deep, especially if you were raised to believe mistakes define your worth. This year confronted that belief. It pushed you into situations where you had to take risks, where you had to try even without guarantees. Failure wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to liberate you from perfectionism. Another deep wound that surfaced was your need for control. You might have struggled to accept situations that were out of your hands. You might have fought circumstances instead of adapting. You might have tried to predict and prevent every potential outcome. This year confronted your desire for certainty. It brought unpredictability not to punish you, but to teach you surrender. Control is an illusion. Healing is accepting that you can only influence your actions, not the entire universe. You are not responsible for everything. You are responsible for yourself. This year also revealed emotional exhaustion, the fatigue that comes from carrying too much. You were strong for too long. You held yourself together when you wanted to unravel. You supported others even when your own heart was breaking. You stayed functional even while silently hurting. This year exposed the parts of you that desperately needed rest. Not just physical rest, emotional rest, mental rest, soul rest. Healing means learning to rest before your breaking point, not after. Another wound that surfaced this year was your difficulty receiving love. You might have pushed people away when they got too close. You might have doubted their sincerity. You might have questioned why they cared. This wound comes from not feeling worthy of love, from telling yourself for so long that you must earn affection instead of simply receiving it. This year brought people or moments into your life to challenge that belief. Healing means learning that love is not a transaction. It is your birthright. This year also exposed your unspoken grief. Grief for the life you imagined. Grief for the people you lost. Grief for the version of yourself you left behind. Grief for opportunities that slipped away. Grief for moments you can never get back. Some of this grief has been sitting inside you for years, waiting for space to breathe. Christmas season often awakens these emotions because it slows the world enough for you to finally feel them. Grief is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign that something mattered. Healing means giving your grief permission to exist. Another wound this year tried to bring out was your self-neglect. You got used to functioning without caring for yourself. You put your needs last. You ignored your own dreams. You stayed busy to avoid feeling. You tolerated situations that drained you. This year made self-neglect painful enough to notice. It forced you to realize that you cannot ignore yourself and still expect to thrive. Healing is choosing yourself, consistently, intentionally, unapologetically. You also became aware of your loneliness wounds, the parts of you that feel empty even in a room full of people. Loneliness is not about lack of company. It is about lack of connection, especially connection with yourself. You realized how much of your life you've lived disconnected from your own emotions. Healing means learning how to be with yourself, not in avoidance, but in honesty. This year revealed your trust wounds. You struggled to trust others because you've been betrayed before. You struggled to trust yourself because you've made mistakes. You struggled to trust life because things didn't always work out. These wounds surfaced to teach you that trust is not built through perfection. It is built through awareness, boundaries, intuition, and experience. Healing means learning how to trust wisely, not blindly. Another wound that surfaced was your fear of change. Even when you wanted something better, the idea of change terrified you. The unknown scared you. The unfamiliar intimidated you. This year confronted that fear by pushing you into transitions you weren't prepared for. It forced you to expand your comfort zone. Healing means accepting that change is not the enemy, it is the path. Most importantly, this year exposed the parts of you that are ready for love, real love. Not the kind that drains you, not the kind that confuses you, not the kind that breaks you, but the kind that aligns with your healing, the kind that supports your growth, the kind that honors your boundaries. This year revealed that you are ready for relationships that match your evolution, not your wounds. Everything exposed this year was brought to the surface because you are ready to heal it. The wounds are not your identity, they are your invitations to grow, to forgive, to let go, to rise, to rebuild, to soften, to strengthen, to become someone new. Healing is not a destination, it is a journey. And this year brought you one step closer to wholeness. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize that the future they want will demand a new version of them. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more disciplined, more grounded, more intentional version. This realization often arrives toward the end of the year, especially during the quiet of the Christmas season. Reflection brings clarity. Clarity reveals responsibility. Responsibility reveals potential. And potential reveals truth. Your future cannot be built by the version of you who lived through the year you're now leaving behind. It must be built by the version of you willing to evolve. Becoming someone your future can depend on means acknowledging something difficult, who you have been. Up to this point is not enough for the life you desire next. Not because you are flawed, not because you are weak, not because you failed, but because growth requires expansion. Dreams demand transformation. Change requires new habits, new beliefs, new courage. Your future cannot rely on the version of you who runs from hard conversations. It cannot depend on the version of you who doubts yourself. It cannot thrive through the version of you who fears taking risks. It cannot be built on inconsistent effort, fragile confidence, or an identity shaped by past wounds. This year taught you that stability is not something you stumble into. It is something you create. And you create it by becoming dependable to yourself. Think about how many times you've trusted others more than you trusted your own intuition. Think about how many times you supported everyone else while neglecting your own needs. Think about how many promises you made to yourself that you broke because someone else needed you, or because your fears grew louder than your discipline. Becoming someone your future can depend on means reversing that pattern. It means learning to trust yourself more than you trust your doubts. It means keeping promises to yourself even when no one else will hold you accountable. It means building a foundation inside yourself that does not shake. Every time your circumstances change, one of the first steps in becoming dependable to your future is building consistency. Not perfection, not intensity, consistency. Consistency is what transforms intention into identity. It is what separates dreamers from builders. This year showed you moments where you were motivated, inspired, full of fire, but motivation fades. Inspiration fades. Excitement fades. Consistency is what remains. It's waking up on days when your spirit feels heavy and doing the small tasks anyway. It's showing up for yourself even when your emotions resist. It's choosing discipline even when comfort calls your name. Consistency builds reliability. And reliability builds a future you can trust. Becoming someone your future can depend on also requires learning emotional discipline. Not emotional suppression, not emotional denial, but emotional discipline. The ability to feel deeply without being controlled by your feelings. Everything you want in life, love, success, stability, growth, depends on how well you manage your emotions. This year taught you how easily fear can sabotage opportunities, how quickly insecurity can ruin something good, how loudly anxiety can silence your potential. Emotional discipline means learning to breathe through discomfort. It means learning to pause before reacting. It means separating temporary feelings from long-term truth. When you master your emotions, your future becomes stable because you are no longer controlled by internal storms. Another essential part of becoming someone your future can depend on is developing self-accountability. Accountability means being honest about your actions, your choices, and your patterns. It means admitting when you avoided responsibility, admitting when you let fear drive your decisions, admitting when you procrastinated, admitting when you ignored your intuition, admitting when you settled. Accountability is not self-blame. It is self-awareness. It is the foundation of growth because you cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. This year revealed where you abandoned yourself. Now you are ready to correct those patterns so your future can rely on you to become dependable. You must also develop boundaries that protect your energy. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They allow in what nourishes you and keep out what drains you. This year taught you how exhaustion feels when your boundaries are weak, how resentment builds when you say yes when your soul meant no, how much of your potential is lost when you spend your life prioritizing the comfort of others over your own well-being. Becoming someone your future can depend on means enforcing boundaries without guilt, without apology, without negotiation. You cannot build a powerful future if you allow people to access you in ways that weaken you. Another requirement for becoming dependable is mastering the art of self-respect. Self-respect is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is honoring your own standards. It is refusing to settle. It is protecting your mental peace. It is walking away when something harms your growth. It is choosing environments, relationships, and opportunities that reflect your value, not your wounds. This year revealed where you underestimated yourself, where you accepted too little, where you gave too much. Now is the moment to treat yourself with the respect your future version needs to thrive. Becoming someone your future can depend on also. This means healing your relationship with discipline. Many people see discipline as punishment, restriction, or suffering. But discipline is freedom. Discipline is clarity. Discipline is stability. Discipline is self-care. When you build discipline, you build trust in yourself. You become reliable. You become predictable in the best way. You no longer rely on motivation, you rely on structure. You no longer rely on emotion, you rely on commitment. Discipline is what carries you through seasons when life feels heavy. It is what makes your future predictable and powerful. Another essential part of this transformation is improving your decision-making. Your life is shaped by the choices you make when no one is watching. Do you choose comfort or growth? Do you choose fear or courage? Do you choose distraction or focus? Do you choose excuses or accountability? Do you choose your future or your old patterns? This year revealed which choices weakened you and which choices strengthened you. To become dependable, you must choose the path that aligns with your highest self, not your habits. Becoming someone your future can depend on also requires learning how to be resilient. Life will not always be easy. Plans will shift. People will change. Opportunities will fall apart. But if you become resilient, your future remains intact, regardless of obstacles. Resilience means adapting without collapsing. It means adjusting without losing hope. It means believing in yourself even when the circumstances around you challenge that belief. Resilience is what makes your future unshakable because you become unshakable. Another major step is developing financial responsibility, not necessarily wealth, but responsibility. Your future cannot depend on you if you act impulsively, avoid planning, or ignore long-term stability. Financial discipline isn't about restriction, it's about freedom. It's about creating a life where you aren't ruled by stress, where you have options, where you can support your dreams without constant fear. Becoming dependable means making decisions that benefit the future version of you, not just the present one. To build a future you can depend on, you must also unlearn the habit of living for others. You cannot build a powerful life while prioritizing everyone else's expectations above your own purpose. This year showed you how much you compromise yourself when you try to please everyone. Becoming dependable means living in alignment with your truth, not the version of you that others expect. Your future depends on your authenticity. Without it, you will always feel lost. Another essential part of dependability is learning how to rest without shame. Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. A dependable future self requires a healthy present self. You cannot build a powerful life while constantly burning out. This year taught you the consequences of exhaustion. Now, your future demands balance, emotional recovery, mental space, and moments of stillness. A dependable person knows when to push and when to pause. Becoming dependable also means becoming courageous. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. Your future will require risks, boundaries, decisions, and changes that your old self would have avoided. This year showed you where fear held you back. Becoming dependable means doing what needs to be done, even when it scares you. Your future cannot rely on a version of you who avoids discomfort. It needs the version who steps into it willingly. Finally, becoming someone your future can depend on means becoming someone you can depend on. Someone who shows up. Someone who keeps promises. Someone who chooses growth over excuses. Someone who honors their own boundaries. Someone who trusts their own intuition. Someone who supports their own dreams. Someone who treats themselves with respect. Someone who leads themselves with strength. You are building a future version of you right now. The decisions you make, the habits you choose, the people you keep, the boundaries you enforce, the standards you set, the voice you trust, all of it is forming the person who will carry you into the next chapter of your life. Your future is not asking for perfection. It is asking for responsibility, consistency, clarity, strength, self-respect, discipline. Your future can be beautiful if you become someone who can handle it. There comes a point when holding on becomes heavier than letting go. You feel it in your chest, in your shoulders, in your thoughts, in the way you move through life. You realize that the weight you've been carrying is not just emotionally spiritual. It's mental. It's physical. It is woven into your identity, shaping your choices, your reactions, your fears, your relationships, your ambitions. And at the end of the year, in the quiet glow of the Christmas season, life invites you to look honestly at everything you're still holding. The pain, the resentment, the disappointment, the memories, the fears, the guilt, the expectations, the people, the stories, the versions of yourself you've outgrown. This season whispers a truth that is both gentle and firm. You cannot carry all of this into your next year. Some things must be released not because they were meaningless, but because you have outgrown their purpose. There are things you are holding on to that are silently holding you back. They weigh down your spirit, limit your perspective, and prevent you from stepping into the next chapter of your life. Letting go is not failure. It is not abandonment. It is not giving up. Letting go is choosing freedom over attachment. It is choosing healing over suffering. It is choosing your future over your past. This season asks you to set down what you no longer need so you can rise into the person you are meant to become. One of the first things you must release is resentment. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. It consumes you, corrodes you, steals your peace. You hold on to what they said, what they did, how they made you feel. You replay moments that can never be changed. You carry emotional scars like armor, hoping they will protect you from future harm. But resentment is not protection, it is imprisonment. You don't heal by holding on to anger. You heal by choosing peace. Letting go of resentment does not excuse what happened. It does not erase the pain. It simply frees you from reliving it. You deserve a new year that doesn't feel like an old wound. Another weight you cannot carry into the new year is guilt. Guilt over decisions you made when you didn't know better. Guilt over relationships you ended. Guilt over things you said or didn't say. Guilt for not being stronger, faster, wiser, calmer, kinder. Guilt for disappointing others. Guilt for prioritizing yourself. You've punished yourself long enough. Self-guilt does not lead to growth, it leads to self-destruction. The truth is, you made the choices you made because that was who you were at the time. You were surviving. You were learning. You were navigating the best you could with the tools you had. This season invites you to forgive yourself. Without forgiveness, the past becomes an anchor. With forgiveness, the past becomes a lesson. Another weight you must release is the need for closure. Not every story will end the way you wanted. Not every person will apologize. Not every situation will make sense. Sometimes closure is simply accepting that the past cannot be rewritten. You don't need a final conversation. You don't need answers you may never get. You don't need validation from someone who couldn't give it to you while they were in your life. Closure is not something others give you, it is something you give yourself. When you choose acceptance, you remove the power the past has over you. The new year cannot begin if you are still waiting for someone else to help you move on. Another weight you need to release is the belief that everything was your fault, that you could have saved every relationship, that you could have prevented every loss, that you could have seen every betrayal, that you could have predicted every outcome. This belief is torture. It keeps you in a cycle of self-blame and shame. The truth is, you are only responsible for your actions, not for the choices, wounds, or shortcomings of others. Not every ending was your doing. Not every disappointment was your fault. Not every loss was avoidable. You are human. You are learning. You are evolving. The new year requires you to let go of responsibility that was never yours. You must also release the version of yourself that you kept as protection. The version that stayed quiet to avoid conflict. The version that settled to avoid loneliness. The version that accepted less because you didn't believe you deserved more. The version that hid your truth to keep others comfortable. The version that dimmed your light because shining felt unsafe. This version of you helped you survive, and for that, you must thank them. But you cannot build your future with a version of yourself rooted in fear. Letting go of old versions is not betrayal, it's expansion. You are allowed to grow beyond the person you once needed to be. Another weight to release is the expectations that others placed on you. Expectations of who you should be, how you should act, what you should want, how you should behave. Expectations shaped by family, culture, past relationships, society, and fear. These expectations have suffocated your authenticity. This year revealed where you were living for approval instead of truth. You cannot enter the new year chained to someone else's idea of you. Your life must belong to you. Your decisions must align with your soul. Your next chapter must be written by your hand, not controlled by anyone else's pen. Another weight you can't carry forward is the fear of being misunderstood. People will misunderstand you. They will judge based on limited information. They will interpret your growth as arrogance, your boundaries as selfishness, your healing as distance. But that is not your burden anymore. Your purpose is not to be understood, it's to be aligned. You do not need to justify your evolution. Your new year does not require explanation to anyone who refuses to see your truth. Let go of the need to be understood and embrace the freedom of being yourself. You also must release the need to stay where you no longer belong. Some environments drain you. Some relationships limit you. Some routines weaken you. Some mindsets cage you. And deep down, you already know when something has expired in your life. You feel the heaviness, the resistance, the disconnect. Letting go does not mean you failed. It means you're brave enough to choose alignment over comfort. Your future cannot grow in soil that no longer nourishes you. Another weight you must set down is comparison. Comparison steals joy, peace, confidence, and identity. It convinces you that you are behind, when in reality, you are right on time. It convinces you that you are not good enough, when in reality, someone else's path was never meant to match yours. This year showed you how different everyone's journey is. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are not inferior. Your timeline is sacred. Your growth is unique. Your path is yours alone. Comparison must be released if you want to step into the new year with confidence. You also need to release emotional attachment to old dreams. Not because those dreams were wrong, but because you have changed. Your heart has changed. Your needs have changed. Your vision has changed. Sometimes the hardest thing is letting go of something you once wanted so deeply. But if the dream does not align with who you are becoming, it will only weigh you down. Letting go does not mean you're abandoning your purpose. It means you're making room for a destiny that matches your evolution. Another weight to release is the people who cannot grow with you. Some people were meant for a season, not a lifetime. Some souls were assigned to teach you lessons, not accompany you forever. It hurts to let them go. It hurts to realize the bond has changed. But keeping people in your life who no longer align with your values, peace, or future only creates unnecessary suffering. Letting go of people is one of the most painful forms of healing, but also one of the most necessary. You cannot rise while staying attached to relationships rooted in old versions of yourself. Finally, the heaviest weight you must release is the belief that you are not ready. You are ready. Ready to heal. Ready to grow. Ready to evolve. Ready to choose yourself. Ready to step into alignment? Ready to pursue your purpose? This belief that you are behind, unprepared, or unworthy has held you back for too long. The new year is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It is waiting for a willing version of you. Release the belief that you need to become someone else before stepping into your future. You are enough to begin. This season invites you to lay down every heavy thing. To walk into the new year with hands open, heart lighter, spirit freer. What you release now will determine what you can receive next. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is clearing space. Letting go is creating room for blessings. Letting go is choosing yourself. Release what cannot follow you. Make space for what is coming. Your next chapter needs a lighter you. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of this year stronger, calmer, wiser, more grounded, more intentional, more aligned. You may not feel like you're becoming that person right now. You may feel tired, uncertain, or even lost. But transformation rarely feels like transformation while it's happening. It feels like pressure. It feels like confusion. It feels like shedding. It feels like endings. It feels like discomfort. Becoming is uncomfortable because it requires unlearning everything that was holding you back. And the truth is, this year has been preparing you for the person you are meant to become next. That new version of you is not accidental. It is the result of every challenge you faced, every emotion you processed, every truth you discovered, every habit you changed, every boundary you set, every moment you forced yourself to grow. You didn't go through this year for nothing. Everything you experienced was shaping you, refining you, rebuilding you. The person you're becoming is the reason the year unfolded the way it did. The person you're becoming is more self-aware. They no longer ignore their emotions. They no longer bury their pain. They no longer pretend to be okay when they're hurting. This version of you understands that emotional clarity is power. That healing requires honesty. That growth begins with feeling instead of avoiding. You now know how to listen to your intuition, how to recognize your triggers, how to question your patterns instead of blindly repeating them. The new you is emotionally intelligent in ways the old you never was. The person you're becoming is more confident, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you survived things that once felt impossible. Confidence is not loud. It is quiet, grounded, internal. It comes from self-trust. And this year, rebuilt your self-trust piece by piece. Every time you handled something you thought would break you, you strengthened that trust. The new you walks with a sense of inner certainty, not because you have all the answers, but because you finally trust yourself to find them. The person you're becoming is more disciplined. This year revealed how much of your life required structure, intention, and consistent effort. The new you understands that discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your dreams. It protects your mental health. It protects your energy. The person you're becoming knows how to say no, how to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort, how to stay committed even when motivation fades. This discipline will become the foundation of your next chapter. The person you're becoming is someone who no longer settles. Settling is what you did when you didn't know your worth. Settling is what you accepted when fear had more power than clarity. Settling is what you tolerated when old wounds were making your decisions. But the new you is done settling. You know now that you deserve relationships that support your growth. You deserve opportunities that match your ambition. You deserve environments that nurture your peace. You deserve a life that feels like alignment, not survival. The new you refuses to shrink, to fit into places that no longer grow you. The person you're becoming is more grounded. You no longer seek validation the way you used to. You no longer chase acceptance. You no longer build your identity based on other people's expectations. This year taught you how to be rooted in yourself, fruited in your truth, your values, your boundaries, your peace. You've learned how to stand firm even when life shakes around you. You've learned how to stay centered even when emotions rise. This grounding makes you unshakable. The person you're becoming is more selective. Not cold, not closed, but intentional. You no longer give your energy to everyone. You no longer allow just anyone access to your mind or heart. You choose based on alignment, not loneliness. You choose based on reciprocity, not desperation. You choose based on trust, not history. This selectiveness is not a defense mechanism, it's wisdom. It's self-respect. It's protection of your inner peace. The person you're becoming is more courageous. Courage does not mean fear disappears. Courage means you act despite fear. You speak despite doubt. You move despite uncertainty. This year forced you to make decisions without guarantees, to walk into situations without clarity, to let go of things without knowing what would come next. In doing so, you learned courage. The new you knows how to move forward even when the path is unclear. That courage will unlock opportunities your old self would have run from. The person you're becoming is more authentic. You have spent too much of your life performing, trying to be likable, acceptable, agreeable, impressive. But this year brought you back to yourself. The real you. The honest you. The unfiltered you. The version of you who no longer pretends to be smaller or quieter or less emotional just to fit in. Authenticity is freedom. It is alignment. It is truth. And the new you is ready to live without masks, without roles, without pretending. The new you is done hiding. The person you're becoming is more peaceful. Not because life is peaceful, but because you've learned how to create peace from within. You've learned how to regulate your emotions, how to protect your energy, how to let go of what you cannot control, how to surrender instead of fight everything. You've realized that peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of self-trust. The new you moves differently, not with anxiety, but with intention. Not with urgency, but with awareness. The person you're becoming is more aligned with your purpose. This year revealed what inspires you, what drains you, what excites you, what no longer fits your life. The new you is ready to pursue goals that reflect who you truly are. You no longer chase approval, you chase fulfillment. You no longer chase distractions, you chase your calling. You no longer chase temporary satisfaction, you chase long-term meaning. Purpose is calling you into your next season, and the new you is ready to answer. The person you're becoming is someone who honors their own boundaries. You no longer abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. You no longer bend your values to maintain relationships. You no longer sacrifice your mental health to avoid conflict. The new you speaks directly. You speak truth. You express needs. You protect your peace without apology. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. And the new you finally understands that. The person you're becoming is someone who can. Forgive not because people deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. You're learning to release bitterness, not for them, but for yourself. You're learning that forgiveness is not reconciliation, it is detachment. It is releasing emotional control. The new you refuses to carry old emotional poison into a new year. Forgiveness is your liberation. The person you're becoming is more patient. You've learned that growth takes time. Healing takes time. Success takes time. Alignment takes time. You've learned how to slow down, how to trust timing, how to stop rushing your life. This patience will shape your next chapter. It will keep you grounded when things move slowly, steady when challenges arise, and focused when distractions appear. The person you're becoming is someone who no longer fears solitude. You now understand that solitude is not loneliness, it is self-connection. It is where your intuition speaks loudest. It is where your healing happens. It is where your dreams sharpen. The new you is comfortable with your own company. You no longer need constant noise or approval to feel secure. Solitude has become a source of power, not fear. The person you're becoming is someone who chooses themselves consistently, intentionally, unapologetically. You prioritize your needs. You protect your mental health. You listen to your intuition. You honor your boundaries. You align your actions with your future, not your fears. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. You cannot build a strong future by abandoning yourself. The person you're becoming is someone who takes responsibility not for everything that happened to you, but for everything you choose moving forward. Responsibility is the foundation of transformation. The new, you no longer blame circumstances, luck, or other people for your life. You hold yourself accountable. You take ownership of your choices. This ownership gives you control your old self never had. The person you're becoming is someone who is ready to change, ready to grow, ready to evolve, ready to step into alignment, ready to pursue your dreams, ready to live differently, ready to move forward. The new you is not waiting for the perfect moment. You are becoming the person who creates the moment. This version of you is rising quietly, steadily, powerfully. Your future is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for alignment. This is the person you're becoming, the person this year molded, shaped, challenged, and prepared. A version of you your past self would be proud of. A version your future self can trust. A version ready to begin again. A new year is not just a change of dates on a calendar, it is a doorway, a symbolic reset. A chance to begin again, not as the person you were, but as the person you've become. The final days before a new year feel different for a reason. Time slows. Your thoughts deepen. Your heart grows reflective. You feel the weight of everything you've carried, everything you've learned, everything you've lost, everything you've healed, everything you've hidden, everything you've survived. The ending of a year is not merely an ending, it is a transformation. It is the moment the universe asks you, are you ready to step into the life meant for you? A powerful new year does not happen by chance. It is created deliberately, intentionally, consciously. It is built from clarity, courage, wisdom, and the willingness to release anything that cannot follow you into your next chapter. And the truth is, you are ready for this new beginning, not because everything is perfect, but because you are different now. You're not walking into the new year with the same heart, the same mindset, the same wounds, or the same limitations. You are walking forward transformed. The new year is not waiting for the old you, it's waiting for the awakened you. The first step into a powerful new year is clarity. Clarity about who you want to become. Clarity about what matters to you. Clarity about the kind of life you want to create, not the life others expect of you. Not the life you once thought you wanted out of fear or insecurity, but the life that aligns with your soul. Clarity is not found in a list of resolutions. It is found in reflection. In listening to your heart, in understanding your patterns, in knowing what drains you and what elevates you. A powerful new year begins with honest clarity. The next step is intention. Intention is the energy behind your actions. It is the why that guides your how. Intention transforms goals from empty hopes into meaningful commitments. You must decide, not wish, not hope. Decide who you're going to be. Your future unfolds through decisions, not dreams. Intentional living means making choices today that your future self will thank you for. It means aligning your habits with your vision. It means acting like the person you're becoming, not the person you're outgrowing. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need intentions strong enough to guide you. A powerful new year also requires courage. Courage to leave behind what no longer belongs. Courage to chase what feels unfamiliar. Courage to rise above your old patterns. Courage to take risks. Courage to try even when you are scared. Courage does not eliminate fear, it transforms it. Fear becomes fuel. Fear becomes a sign that you are stepping beyond your comfort zone. The new year cannot be powerful if you continue living in the safety of the familiar. Growth requires courage. You have more courage than you give yourself credit for. Another key to a powerful new year is alignment. Alignment means your actions match your values. Your decisions match your goals. Your relationships match your healing. Your environment matches your growth. Alignment is the opposite of living on autopilot. Autopilot keeps you repeating the same life year after year. Alignment creates transformation. It forces you to choose consciously. It demands honesty. It asks you to check in with yourself regularly. When you live in alignment, everything you do adds to your life instead of draining it. A powerful new year also requires boundaries. Boundaries with people. Boundaries with your time. Boundaries with your habits. Boundaries with your own thoughts. The new year cannot thrive if you allow your energy to be drained by old patterns or old relationships. Boundaries protect your growth. Boundaries protect your peace. Boundaries protect your evolution. You must decide what you will no longer tolerate internally and externally. Boundaries are not restrictions. They are foundations for the life you are building. You also must bring forgiveness into the new. You're especially forgiveness toward yourself. You cannot build a powerful future while dragging guilt, shame, and regret. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is releasing. It is acknowledging that you did the best you could with who you were at the time. It is recognizing that growth comes from mistakes. It is understanding that healing is not linear. Forgiving yourself frees your energy. It opens your heart. It allows you to step into the new year with a clean emotional slate, and you deserve that freedom. A powerful new year also requires discipline, not punishment, but devotion. Devotion to your future. Devotion to your goals. Discipline is choosing what aligns with your vision, even when emotions want something else. It is showing up consistently. It is creating habits that support your evolution. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation. The new year will not be different unless your habits are. Discipline gives you the structure to carry your new identity into reality. Another essential element is surrender. Not giving up, but letting go of control. Trusting the timing of life. Trusting your intuition. Trusting the process. Surrender allows you to move forward without forcing outcomes. It teaches you patience. It teaches you flexibility. It teaches you acceptance. A powerful new year requires effort, yes, but it also requires flow. You cannot force your destiny. You can only meet it halfway. Surrender is how you stay open to the unexpected blessings waiting for you. A powerful new year also requires gratitude. Not the performative kind. Not the gratitude that pretends everything is perfect. But the deep gratitude that says, I am thankful for what shaped me. I am thankful for what strengthened me. I am thankful for what taught me. Gratitude shifts your energy. It softens your heart. It opens your mind. It reorients your perspective. When you walk into a new year with gratitude, you create space for abundance. A powerful new year also requires vision. Vision of the life you want to build. Vision gives you direction. Vision gives you hope. Vision gives you motivation. You don't need a detailed plan. You don't need a strict timeline. You only need a clear sense of the life you're moving toward. Vision fuels discipline. Vision shapes decisions. Vision inspires perseverance. This new year is not asking you to become perfect. It is asking you to become intentional, to become brave, to become honest, to become aligned, to become responsible, to become compassionate, to become committed. The person you are becoming is capable of building a powerful life, but only if you step forward with awareness. The new year is also an invitation, a sacred one. An invitation to start over, to redefine yourself, to create new patterns, to break old cycles, to rewrite your story. You are not bound to who you were. You are not trapped by your past. You are not limited by your mistakes. You are free to rise. You must promise yourself something important. You will not shrink in this new year. You will not betray yourself to please others. You will not settle for less than you deserve. You will not postpone your growth. You will not silence your intuition. You will not ignore your healing. You will not let fear dictate your decisions. You will not allow your past to define your future. Instead, you will choose yourself. You will choose your peace. You will choose your purpose. You will choose your growth. You will choose your courage. You will choose your future. A powerful new year does not begin on January 1st. It begins the moment you decide you are worthy of more. It begins the moment you choose alignment over comfort. It begins the moment you commit to becoming the person your dreams require. It begins now. You are stepping into a new chapter with a new mindset, a new heart, and a new level of strength. The challenges of this year were not random. They were preparing you for something greater. And now you are ready. Ready to build. Ready to evolve. Ready to receive. Ready to rise? This is your moment. This is your reset. This is your new beginning. Step into the life you're meant to live. The door is opened, and your future is already waiting for you.